First contact. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the viewport of the ESS Hawking, watching the strange structure slowly rotate against the backdrop of unfamiliar stars. After 15 years of deep space exploration, she thought she'd seen everything the universe had to offer. She was wrong. "Mom, come look at this." Lily's voice carried across the bridge, filled with the unique excitement only a 12-year-old could muster for something that wasn't a game console. Sarah smiled, remembering how much controversy her decision to bring her daughter on this mission had caused. But with missions lasting years, leaving her behind had never been an option. "What have you found, sweetheart?" Sarah made her way to Lily's station, where she'd been allowed to help monitor the long-range sensors. It was mostly busy work to keep her occupied, but Lily took it as seriously as any crew member. The energy signatures. Lily pointed at her display, her finger tracing patterns that Sarah couldn't quite follow. "They're like the resonance patterns in Stellar Command. You know, when you're trying to detect cloaked ships." Sarah froze. Stellar Command was just a game, one of many space simulation games that had exploded in popularity over the last decade. But as she looked at the readings more carefully, she realized Lily was right. The pattern matched almost exactly with the theoretical models for detecting phase-shifted matter. "Lieutenant Rivera," Sarah called out, maintaining her command composure despite her racing heart. "Run a full-spectrum analysis on these coordinates, focusing on quantum variance." "Aye, Commander." Rivera's fingers danced across his console. "Running scan now." "Wait." He looked up, confusion clear on his face. "Commander, there's something there. Something big. How did we miss this?" The air on the bridge grew thick with tension as the scan results populated their main display. Where moments before there had been empty space, a massive structure now took shape. It was elegant, all sweeping curves and impossible angles, clearly artificial and definitely not of human origin. "Priority alert to Earth Command," Sarah ordered, her voice steady despite the implications of what they were seeing. "We've made first contact, and someone was trying very hard to hide it from us." Deep within the structure, ancient systems stirred to life. Patterns of light raced along dormant corridors, awakening processes that had slumbered for millennia. In a chamber that had once served as a command center, a message began to form. "Evolutionary trial sequence init heat. Species. Human. Subject det. Variant conscious patieren. Trial parameteors." Adjusting. Sarah didn't know it yet, but her daughter's casual observation had just triggered a chain of events that would reshape humanity's understanding of their place in the cosmos. The game-like simulations that had entertained millions of Earth's children weren't just games. They were tests left behind by something far older than humanity's earliest civilizations. And Lily had just passed the first one. "Mom," Lily called again, her voice smaller now. "The pattern. It's changing. It's responding to us." She pointed to her screen where the energy signature was indeed shifting, forming new configurations with an obvious intelligence behind them. "All stations, yellow alert," Sarah commanded. "Dr. Marcus, begin compilation of first contact protocols. Lieutenant Rivera, maintain our position, but have escape vectors plotted. Whatever this is, it was meant to be found, just not by accident." As the crew rushed to comply with her orders, Sarah placed a hand on her daughter's shoulder. "Good catch, Lily. Those games of yours might have just made history." Lily beamed up at her mother, but her attention quickly returned to her console. The patterns were becoming more complex, more beautiful. They reminded her of the most challenging levels in Stellar Command, where the solution wasn't about power or speed, but about seeing connections that others missed. The structure continued its slow rotation, its surface now alive with flowing patterns of light. Within its ancient halls, systems that had waited eons for the right kind of minds began preparing their next sequence of tests. They had found what they were looking for, not in humanity's mighty warships or advanced sciences, but in the playful imagination of their children. First contact wouldn't come with the thunder of guns or the grandeur of formal diplomatic exchange. Instead, it began with a child who saw patterns in the void because she'd spent countless hours playing games that, unknowingly, prepared her for exactly this moment. The real game was about to begin. The game that wasn't. 2 weeks had passed since the discovery of the alien structure, and the ESS Hawking's crew was no closer to understanding its true purpose. The massive station hung in space like a question mark, its surfaces still dancing with intricate patterns of light that seemed to respond to their presence. Sarah Chen sat in her quarters, reviewing the latest data packet from Earth Command. The station's discovery had sent shockwaves through the scientific community, but it was the gaming connection that had truly captured everyone's attention. Stellar Command, the game that Lily had compared to the station's energy patterns, was being dissected line by the best minds on Earth. "Commander," Dr. Marcus's voice came through her comm. "You need to see this. And bring Lily." Sarah found her daughter already at the science station, eyes wide as she stared at the main display. Dr. Marcus, the ship's xenorchaeologist, had managed to decode some of the station's basic systems. What they revealed was extraordinary. "It's not just similar to Stellar Command," Dr. Marcus explained, his usually calm voice trembling with excitement. "The game's core mechanics, the way it teaches players to think about space, energy, and pattern recognition, it's all based on the same principles we're finding in the station's architecture." "That's impossible," Sarah protested. "The game was developed on Earth. It's just a popular space sim." "Look at this," Lily interrupted, pulling up a sequence of game levels she completed months ago. Next to it, Dr. Marcus displayed a series of energy patterns they'd recorded from the station. The correlation was undeniable. "The station's been broadcasting these patterns for decades," Dr. Marcus continued. "Weak signals, barely detectable, but constant. They've been seeding our development, Commander. Not with technology, but with ways of thinking." Sarah watched as Lily navigated through both the game interface and the station's patterns with equal ease. "They've been teaching us." "Not us," Dr. Marcus corrected. "Them." He gestured to Lily. "The children. Their minds are more adaptable, more open to new patterns of thought. The games weren't just games, they were preparation." As if responding to their revelation, the station's patterns shifted dramatically. New configurations appeared, more complex than anything they'd seen before. Lily's hands moved instinctively over her console, matching the patterns like she'd done countless times in the game. "Mom," she called out, her voice filled with wonder. I think it wants us to play." The station's response was immediate. A beam of light swept through the bridge, painless but impossible to ignore. When it passed over Lily, the patterns on the main display exploded into complexity. Co-unfirend. Stag2 ionitv Unen alusuki erin. G bezig intihiorface hiporo to seals. Dr. Marcus. Sarah's command voice was back. "What just happened?" The scientist was already analyzing the new data streaming across his screens. "The station's adaptive systems are active. They're learning from Lily. The way she thinks, the way she approaches problems, it's exactly what they've been looking for." "They?" Sarah asked sharply. "Who are they?" "The architects," a new voice answered. Except it wasn't really a voice. The words appeared in their minds, accompanied by sensations of vast age and patient purpose. "We have waited long for minds that could play our game." The crew stood frozen as the presence made itself known. It wasn't hostile, but the sheer alienness of it was overwhelming. Only Lily seemed unfazed, her attention still focused on the patterns before her. "Look, Mom," she said excitedly. "It's like the advanced levels, but better. Each pattern is a puzzle, but they're all connected. Like a story told in energy and in light." The presence seemed to approve. More patterns emerged, each more intricate than the last. But now they could see them for what they really were, not just random configurations, but a language, a way of thinking that transcended traditional communication. Your games, the presence continued, were echoes of our methods. We scattered them across many worlds, seeking species whose young could grasp our patterns. Most focus on teaching their children to think like their adults. Humans let their children teach them new ways to think. Sarah watched as her daughter worked through pattern after pattern, each solution revealing new aspects of the station's purpose. The games that had prepared her, that had prepared an entire generation of human children, weren't just tests. They were an invitation. "Commander," Lieutenant Rivera called out urgently. "We're detecting multiple ships dropping out of FTL at the edge of the system. They're not human designs." The presence stirred again. "The others come. They too have followed our patterns, but they learned differently. Now we shall see which approach yields better results. Let the true game begin." As the unknown ships approached, Sarah realized that first contact wasn't going to be a simple exchange of knowledge. It was going to be a competition, played out on a scale she could barely comprehend. And humanity's greatest asset wasn't their technology or their military might. It was their children's ability to see patterns in chaos and find joy in solving impossible puzzles. The game that wasn't a game was about to become very real indeed. Hidden potential. The approaching alien ships moved with perfect precision, their formations resembling the complex patterns displayed by the station. Sarah Chen watched them through the Hawking's main viewport, her mind racing through tactical options. But this wasn't going to be a conventional confrontation. "They're beautiful," Lily whispered, studying the intricate dance of the alien vessels. "Their patterns are like the level 50 challenges in Stellar Command, but they're missing something important." The presence that had identified itself as the architects rippled through their thoughts again. "Yes, young one. What do you see that they do not?" Lily's fingers traced patterns in the air as she thought. In the game, the most elegant solutions aren't about perfect shapes. They're about finding the gaps, the spaces between. That's where the real patterns live. The alien fleet had spread out now, forming a complex geometric net around the station. Their message, when it came, was clear and direct. "We have mastered the patterns. We claim the architect's legacy by right of achievement." Sarah felt the architect's amusement. "Show them, child of Earth, what your kind has learned from play." Lily was already working at her console, but not in any way Sarah had seen before. Her daughter's hands moved with absolute certainty, weaving energy patterns that the station responded to immediately. The display filled with cascading lights that made Sarah's eyes water, not from brightness, but from the complexity of what they represented. "Commander," Dr. Marcus called out, his voice filled with awe. "The station's quantum core. It's reconfiguring itself based on Lily's inputs. She's not just solving the patterns, she's creating new ones." The alien fleet's perfect formation faltered. Their next transmission carried a note of confusion. "This is not possible. The patterns are fixed, absolute. They cannot be changed." "But games aren't fun if you can't make up new rules sometimes," Lily responded, not taking her eyes off her work. The patterns she was creating began to interact with the station's existing ones, forming something entirely new. "See, if you combine this sequence with that one." The effect was immediate and stunning. The station's energy field expanded, enveloping both the Hawking and the alien fleet in a web of light that somehow made the very fabric of space visible. Sarah gasped as she truly saw, what her daughter had been seeing all along. The patterns weren't just configurations of energy or light. They were the underlying structure of reality itself. The aliens had learned to recognize and replicate them perfectly, but humanity's children, through countless hours of playful experimentation in what they thought were just games, had learned to manipulate them. "This is why we seeded the games across the galaxy," the architects explained. "Perfect replication indicates understanding. But creation, true creation, That shows comprehension. Your children learn to play with the building blocks of the universe itself. The alien fleet's formation had completely dissolved now. Their next transmission was directed not at the station or the Hawking's command, but at Lily. How? How do you see the spaces between? I don't just see them, Lily replied, still adding to her increasingly complex pattern. I imagine what could fill them. That's what makes it fun. Look, if you shift your formation like this. She sent them a simple pattern, one that incorporated their existing formation, but added elements they had never considered. The aliens' response was hesitant at first, but then their ships began to move, adapting to Lily's suggestion. The result was something neither human nor alien, but a beautiful hybrid of both approaches. The legacy was never about mastery. The architects communicated to all present. It was about evolution, about finding species who could not just understand the universe's patterns, but add to them, create new ones. Your children do this naturally, instinctively, through play. Sarah watched as her daughter began teaching the aliens how to play with patterns rather than just perfect them. The implications were staggering. Humanity hadn't just passed the architect's test. They'd transcended it entirely. Mom, Lily called out, finally looking up from her console with a bright smile. Can we invite them to play multiplayer? I have some really cool ideas for new levels we could design together. The alien fleet's next transmission contained something that hadn't been present before: laughter. They had spent generations mastering the patterns with rigid discipline, only to be shown a completely new approach by a human child who saw it all as an elaborate game. But the architect's presence suddenly turned serious. The game grows larger still. Others come, those who seek not to master the patterns, but to control them. And they do not play nicely. As if on cue, the long-range sensors detected new signatures entering the system. These ships moved differently, their patterns aggressive and discordant. They had noticed humanity's achievement, and they were coming to claim it for themselves. The real challenge was about to begin, and its outcome would depend not on military might or technological superiority, but on a child's ability to see the universe as the ultimate playground. The challenge. The hostile fleet emerged from hyperspace like a storm front, their ships moving in sharp, aggressive patterns that seemed to tear at the fabric of space itself. Sarah Chen watched as their formation spread out, a dark mirror of the elegant configurations they'd seen earlier. Those patterns, Lily whispered, her hands hovering over her console. They're all wrong. They're hurting the space around them. The architect's presence rippled with concern. The disruptors. They seek not to understand the patterns, but to break them, to remake reality by force rather than harmony. The first transmission from the disruptor fleet cut through all channels, harsh and demanding. Surrender the pattern, child. Her ability to create new configurations makes her too dangerous to remain free. Sarah stepped forward, maternal instinct warring with command training. This is Commander Chen of the ESS Hawking. You are threatening a human child. Retreat immediately. The response was cold laughter. Your weapons are primitive. Your understanding is limited. Only the child matters. Her gift will serve our purposes. But during this exchange, something remarkable was happening. Lily had begun working with both the station's interface and her original gaming console, her fingers dancing across both as if playing an instrument. The alien fleet that had arrived earlier moved their ships subtly, following patterns she was weaving into the space around them. Mom, Lily called out, her voice excited despite the tension. Remember that massive multiplayer event in Stellar Command last year? The one where players from all over Earth had to work together to solve the impossible puzzle. Sarah nodded, not yet seeing the connection. But Dr. Marcus's eyes widened. Commander, she's right. That event, it wasn't just a game. It was preparation for exactly this kind of situation. The architect's presence brightened. Yes, we watched as millions of your young ones joined together, finding solutions we had never imagined. Show us again, pattern child. Show us how your people play together. Lily's fingers flew faster now. Lieutenant Rivera, can you broadcast on all frequencies? I need to send something to every gaming console on Earth. Sarah looked to the architect's presence for confirmation, received a sensation of approval, and nodded to Rivera. Do it. What happened next would be remembered as the moment humanity truly showed its unique place in the cosmos. Lily's signal reached Earth, and within minutes, millions of young players logged into what they thought was a special event in Stellar Command. What they were actually accessing was a real-time interface to the quantum patterns of space itself. The disruptors don't understand, Lily explained as she coordinated with players across the solar system. They think patterns have to be controlled, but patterns want to play. The hostile fleet started their advance, their ships radiating destructive energy that made reality itself scream. But they found themselves facing something unprecedented. Millions of human children, each contributing their own creative solutions to the defense of their world, treating the deadliest battle in human history as the ultimate cooperative game. Patterns of light and energy began to dance between the Allied ships, human and alien alike. Each pattern was unique, bearing the signature creativity of the child who designed it. The disruptors' attempts to break these patterns failed because the patterns kept changing, evolving, playing. Impossible. The disruptor commander transmitted. These are the fundamental forces of reality. They cannot be treated as toys. Why not? Lily's response was genuine curiosity as she wove another pattern into the growing tapestry of defense. Everything's more fun when you play with it. Look, these players in Australia just figured out how to make the patterns bounce. The architect's presence resonated with something that felt like joy. This is why we chose your species, though we did not know it at the time. You understand the deepest truth of the universe, that creation itself is a form of play. The disruptor fleet's formation began to falter as their rigid patterns met the ever-changing, playful configurations created by Earth's children. Each attempt to impose their will on space was met with 1,000 creative solutions, each one treating their deadly serious attack as just another puzzle to be solved. "Mom," Lily called out, her voice carrying both excitement and concern. "I think we can end this, but I need help. Real help. Not just from players, but from you. From all the adults who've forgotten how to play." Sarah looked at her daughter, then at the battle unfolding before them. A battle being fought not with weapons, but with imagination. She remembered her own childhood, the joy of discovering new things, of playing just for the sake of playing. "Show me how," she said, stepping up to the console beside her daughter. Around the world, other parents and adults began to join their children at gaming stations, rediscovering something they'd thought lost to time. The universe held its breath as humanity prepared to show why playing games made them not weaker, but stronger than anyone had imagined. Evolution's game. The space around Earth had become a symphony of light and pattern, as millions of human minds, young and old alike, joined together in what history would later call the Great Game. The disruptor fleet found themselves caught in an ever-shifting maze of quantum configurations that defied their rigid understanding of reality. "They're trying to predict our patterns," Lily observed, her fingers dancing across her console while Sarah watched in amazement. "But you can't predict play. That's what makes it fun." The architect's presence resonated with growing excitement. Watch now as they learn the final lesson. Show them why play is the highest form of evolution. Around the world, humans had turned the defense of Earth into the ultimate multiplayer game. Children in Tokyo created spiral patterns that players in London would catch and transform. Teams in Brazil wove their patterns into dancing forms that players in Russia would adapt and enhance. Each modification, each creative addition, made the whole stronger and more unpredictable. The disruptor commander's voice carried growing desperation. "This is not how reality works. Patterns must be controlled, dominated." "Actually," Lily responded, her voice carrying the simple confidence of a child explaining the rules of a game, "reality loves to play. Look, She initiated a new pattern, one that began as a simple sphere of light around her ship. Players across Earth recognized it from countless gaming sessions, the starting configuration of the Galaxy Dance, one of Stellar Command's most popular cooperative challenges. Without needing to be told, millions of players began adding their own variations. The effect was breathtaking. The sphere expanded, incorporating elements from every pattern being created on Earth. It was ordered yet chaotic, structured yet free, each addition making it more complex and beautiful. The alien fleet that had first challenged them joined in, finally understanding that mastery could come through play as much as practice. Your species, the architects communicated to all humanity, has shown us something we had forgotten. The universe itself began as an act of creative play, and through play, it continues to evolve. The disruptors launched their final assault, attempting to break the human-made patterns through sheer force. But they found themselves trying to fight a game. And games don't follow the rules of normal combat. Their rigid patterns shattered against defenses that switched between states like children changing the rules of playground games. "Mom," Lily called out, her eyes shining with inspiration. "Remember how you used to tell me that the best way to end a fight is to make friends instead? What if we invite them to play?" Sarah looked at her daughter, then at the hostile fleet still trying to impose their will on reality itself. "How do you propose we do that, sweetheart?" Lily's answer was to modify her pattern. The effect was immediate. The disruptors' patterns, designed to break and dominate, found themselves being transformed into vital pieces of a larger game. Some of their ships tried to resist, but others began to adapt, their crews discovering that cooperation brought greater rewards than conquest. "The pattern child shows wisdom beyond her years," the architects observed. "By turning conflict into cooperation, she demonstrates the true purpose of our tests. Evolution is not about dominance, but about finding new ways to play together." The combined patterns of humanity, their alien allies, and even the converted disruptor ships began to resonate with the ancient station. Energy coursed through patterns that had never existed before, creating something entirely new. "It was never about finding someone to inherit our legacy," the architects revealed. "It was about finding those who could transcend it, who could show us new ways to understand the universe we thought we knew completely." Sarah watched as her daughter coordinated with millions of players, turning the defense of Earth into a celebration of creativity. The remaining hostile ships, faced with the choice between isolation and participation, gradually joined the dance of patterns. "You have succeeded beyond our greatest hopes," the architects declared to all of humanity. "You have shown that the next step in evolution is not about becoming more powerful or more controlled, but about learning to play with the very fabric of reality itself." The pattern stabilized into a new configuration, one that would be studied for generations to come. It wasn't just a defense system or a communication method. It was a new way of interacting with the universe itself, born from the combined imagination of millions of playing children. "So," Lily asked, looking up from her console with a bright smile, "what game should we play next?" The universe, it seemed, had countless games left to play. And humanity, with their unique gift for turning even the most serious challenges into opportunities for play and creativity, would lead the way into a future where the line between reality and imagination became beautifully blurred. As the Earth continued its dance through space, protected now by patterns of light and energy, Sarah Chen looked at her daughter and saw not just her child, but a symbol of humanity's greatest strength, the ability to face the unknown with joy, to turn challenges into games, and to find solutions through play that serious minds would never imagine. The great game was over, but humanity's next adventure was just beginning. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, other young minds were logging into their games, unknowingly preparing for the day when they too would learn that reality itself was the ultimate playground.